All right. I think we are live now. Can everybody hear me? Can somebody post in the comments for me if you can hear me? All right, so we'll give it a minute here, get some people on here. All right, Daniel says he can hear me. Hopefully it's coming through clear. Is it coming through nice and clear? It's not distorted or anything like that? Perfect, several people can hear me. Daniel J, how's it going? JZ, thanks for coming. Don, welcome. Daisy, we got Aweus, hopefully I'm saying that right. K option here as well. Healing with resonance. All right, awesome. So sounds like everything's working. Everybody can see me. Everybody can hear me. So appreciate everybody coming on. It's been a while since we've done a live Q&A, but looking forward to diving into this. I've just had my head down lately working on business. Broke $3 million in sales last year doing the Amazon wholesale route. So things are going good. Brought on a office manager that we have in here, as well as a warehouse manager and some warehouse people. So things are going really good in the Amazon wholesale business for me. And so I want to get back to helping you guys succeed in your business as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this. I'm going to keep this video up. Some people were asking me to record this. This will be on the YouTube channel. Also, I'll put it on the podcast and the website, entrepreneuradventure.com, where you can find lots of other good videos and things like that as well. So let's get going. I seen one popping here from Aweus earlier. Well, he asked about recording it, which we are. So K Option has a question here. What have you found is the best way of getting suppliers to reduce their price? Really, the best way is, number one, just asking. You don't want to start off your relationship, though, by just automatically asking for big discounts. Usually the way I do it is I start off just asking casually. Do you guys have any like standard discount levels that we should be aware of, or free shipping levels? Some bigger distributors will let you know all this information up front. You don't have to worry about it. You're going to see it there. Others are not going to tell you. So I just ask casually that in the beginning. Then I usually start analyzing the list that they've given me, either the distributor or the brand. I go through the products and match them up on Amazon. Right now we're using a software called Tactical Arbitrage. I used to use a software called Analyzer Tools. Both do very similar things. We switched to Tactical Arbitrage because they also have a way to analyze variation listings to tell how many reviews are in each variation. But we match them up, and then I just assume that I can get between a 10 to 20% discount. It's not always the case that is going to happen, but I just make that assumption going into it. So I tell my virtual assistants now, because I haven't done the actual sourcing for quite a while on a large scale. My VAs are doing that. But they are looking for products that are selling, have a 0% ROI or better. And you heard me right, 0% or better, right? Because I'm okay with a product doing 20% ROI if it's selling really well. Ideally, we want more 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or 100%, but I'm okay with 20%. And like I said, we can get maybe up to 10 to 20% discount on these products sometimes. So we're looking for anything in that area. And so I build up a big list of all the products that I want to get. And based off of numbers either from Jungle Scout or Helium 10 or some other tool, I guesstimate how many I think I can sell per month. And so now I can come back to the supplier and say, hey, these are all the products that I want to order. This is how many I think that I can order or sell every month. And this is my target price. So my target price, I usually set that at a minimum of like 40% ROI. I usually say if you ask for a discount and they give you that discount, then you didn't ask for low enough. So I usually go lower than my minimum would, the minimum I would take. And I send that big list to them. If it's a distributor, you might have a big list of products. If it's a supplier, it might be a smaller one. But I send that to them, and one column I include in there is that target price that I'm looking for from them. And that way, it kind of shows that you're more, what's the right word? More legitimate, right? You're going to make a purchase of these products. You're not just going to make a $100 order or even a $500 order. The bigger the order, obviously, the more likely you can get discounts. And so I send that to them. They'll come back. Sometimes they say, oh, we don't do any discounting. That happens, and then you got to go from there. Other times they'll come back and usually say, well, we can't do that, but we can do this. And then you can go through the list and see if those new costs will work for you. Now, oftentimes I will make an initial order on the products that are profitable, if there are any, before asking for discounts. So if there's any products that already meet my criteria, I can order them. I'll order them and go ahead and start that relationship. And then before I make the second order, that's when I'll ask for the bigger discount on the other products. Because that way you've established yourself. You're not just some guy on the internet who's trying to buy them and going to waste their time. Because it happens a lot. There's a lot of bad Amazon sellers out there that will go and be like, oh, I want to order all this stuff, give me huge discounts, and then they make a $100 order or a $500 order. $500 may be okay, but that's still a relatively low if you're asking for big discounts, right? If you're not asking for discounts, $100 order, $500 order is fine. But just keep in mind that when we first start selling products, we're not ordering what we think we can sell in a month. So I always let them know that ahead of time as well. This is what I think I can sell per month. My initial order is going to be less than that so that we can get real world numbers, right? Because I'm only ordering like 12 or 20 or 24. Even if Jungle Scout and Helium 10 say that I could sell 100 or 500 or even 1,000. Maybe on 1,000 I might order 50 or 60. But I'm not trying to take a huge risk with that initial order. But that's kind of how we're going through and getting discounts. Discounting is the name of the game in wholesale. You're going to find a lot of those lists. They're not profitable, but somebody else is selling them at a lower price. So they are either buying it from a different distributor or direct from the brand if you're looking at a distributor, or they negotiated a bigger discount than you. So discounting typically is the norm. Not everybody discounts, but it is relatively typical to discount. All right, so hopefully that helped you out, K option. Let's see what else we got. Daisy Bolivar asked, what is the best advice for someone who wants to jump from AR to wholesale? AR, I'm assuming you meant RA, retail arbitrage. So retail arbitrage, I think, is still the best way to start. Usually if somebody's never sold on Amazon, I recommend them go to a garage sale, go to a thrift store, go to the clearance aisle in Walmart and find something there that you can sell on Amazon for maybe a little bit of profit, or even if you just break even lose a little money is fine. The whole point of that exercise is to learn how the systems of Amazon work, because Seller Central is the same whether you're doing retail arbitrage or if you're doing wholesale or if you're doing private label. It's the same process to send products in and everything. So retail arbitrage is a great place to start. There's a lot of people who make their living off of doing retail arbitrage. But if you want to jump to wholesale, you're already on another level, right? Because you've been doing retail arbitrage, so you know how Amazon works. Now you just need to add in the wholesale side of things. And the wholesale side of things is different in that it is more relationship based. So you're developing relationships with these suppliers and these brands. So you need to kind of learn and expect that. It's going to be a little bit differently. You can't just sit behind a keyboard. You can't just be texting or emailing, I should say, and sending texts on WhatsApp or whatever the case may be, like private label and retail arbitrage. Retail arbitrage, if you're doing it really well, you might have developed relationships with some of the managers at stores to alert you when new things are coming in. But for the most part, you don't have to build a lot of relationships, where wholesale relationships are the name of the game. So you want to get comfortable with that. And I'm an introverted person. I'm not an extroverted person. This is not like my natural world, being on camera and standing in front of audiences and things like that. And selling is not my real normal world. So those are all things that I've learned because I made a decision that these are things that I want to do. I'm going to do them. I'm not going to let my introvertedness stop me. If introvertedness is a word, I'm not sure. So you're going to want to get comfortable and understand that, and learn some sales skills is good. So there's a book that I like that I actually found at a Goodwill called Value Added Reselling. I forget who it's by off the top of my head, and does not look like I've got it in my background here right now. But sales books are good. Sales training on YouTube and things like that. But outside of that, if you check out my reverse sourcing video, so search here on YouTube, jump over to entrepreneuradventure.com, search for it there. You'll find there should be a couple of reverse sourcing videos that I have. And that's essentially how you're going to get started finding suppliers. That's like your first step to start finding suppliers, and then making those phone calls and start building those relationships and getting those accounts opened. So hopefully that answered your question, Daisy. Let's see what else we got. JZ, how is your Amazon Canada selling? Anything you want to share? So historically, up until now, we've done a very little bit of FBA in Canada, but really we were just doing the Amazon remote fulfillment. So that is something that you can enable in your Amazon.com Seller Central account. If you go under inventory and then hit remote fulfillment, you can turn on the ability to sell any product that you have in Amazon's warehouses in FBA in the US. You can turn it on to sell in Canada and Mexico. And that has been about 3% of our sales in the past. But just recently, again, we've started sending our products up to Amazon Canada. So it's pretty early, but already it's doubled from 3% to over 6%, so more than doubled. I believe in the next month it'll probably have tripled to maybe more like 10, 12, 15% of our overall sales. And it's been surprisingly really good so far. Most people see about 10% of their USA sales in Canada when they go there, but it depends on your category and also the products you're selling. If you're selling a lot of products that other people are not in Canada, but maybe have reviews and things like that, you're going to get a higher percentage. So I'm feeling really good about Amazon Canada. The hard part is doing the importing because you have to create what's called a commercial invoice for sending into Amazon, or not to Amazon, sending into Canada for importing. And that has to include like what the product is, the cost of the product, the HS code, which is like the tariff code, and then also the supplier's address and their information, and then the originating country. So if it was made in China, that'd be China, made in the US, that'd be a US, etc. So still trying to hammer down a quick way to create that. But I do have a developer now, and we're actually working on our own internal software for managing our inventory. So I'm going to build that into a part of that where we can just generate a spreadsheet that has all that information and send that with the shipments. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not as easy as just sending it up there. There are a few additional things that you need to do to get set up in Canada. But so far it's been good for us, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more and going on to the UK here. Let's see, Daniel J. Tell me more about how you get exclusives. Do you work with any new brands that are not even on Amazon and help them start? So how we get exclusives. Some of them I've gotten lucky. Lucky, I always put that word in quotes because I like to say luck comes to those who put themselves in a position for luck to find them. So I got lucky because I've been working hard in this Amazon wholesale and contacting a lot of people. So some of them have reached out to me and wanted to become an exclusive. But aside from those, really it's just building those relationships. Like one of the most recent ones I met at a trade show. It was a niche trade show in the sporting goods category. And I was just going through every single booth, talking with the people there, trying to get them to let us sell their products on Amazon. And one of them I hit, he just happened to be in a position where his current exclusive person was not doing well. He wasn't happy with them. And he came over to working with us. And that is now one of our best-selling products. And I did that by hitting those trade shows, talking to the person, getting them to know, like, and trust us. Other ones have come, I've never meeting the people. It's just been where maybe we've sold their product for a while. We've built up that reputation with them of being the Amazon person that knows what we're doing, and then approaching them about becoming an exclusive with them and saying, hey, there's a lot of things that we could do to fix your listing. We could run ads as well and just overall improve the quality of the listing to get higher sales, and also improve the overall look and feel for the brand. And we've built into exclusive agreements that way also. But essentially, it comes down with wholesale to building those relationships. We spend several $1,000s every single year during Christmas time sending holiday cards, Christmas cards, and gift baskets. I'm literally sending like $100, $200, $300 gift baskets to a lot of our suppliers. So those kind of things help you build that relationship. Wholesale, all about relationships. The second part of that, don't want to forget that. Brands that are not on Amazon. That's a whole other way that you can go about this for sure. Finding brands based on your experience with Amazon, you can look at their products and say, yeah, I think this is a product that should be able to sell really well in Amazon. Almost approach it like you're going to create your own private label product, right? Do a little research, find out the information, make a nice report maybe for the brand if you want to approach them with this, and negotiate some kind of deal that works for you. You could do it where you're buying the products and then selling them on Amazon, although that's a little more risky with a company that's not already selling on Amazon. Most of our exclusives have already been selling on Amazon, but the listings are horrible. And so we take it upon ourselves to work with them and fix that. With a company that's not selling, you got to treat it more like a private label brand. So what a lot of people do there is they'll negotiate some kind of agreement and set the account up for the brand. So maybe you say, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to get 30% or 40% of sales. Or maybe you do it on profit, 50% of profit of whatever we sell for you on Amazon. And so the account is going to be theirs for the brand, but you're going to be essentially hired by them to run the entire account. You're usually going to want to do some kind of agreement on that, maybe a 1 or 2 year agreement, so that they can't just undermine you on that. But again, even with agreements, that's where the relationship comes into play. We have agreements with a lot of our exclusives, but I really just look at those as a way to kind of solidify the agreement. If the relationship falls apart, I'm not going to take them to court over an agreement. It just wouldn't be worth it, most likely. So keep that in mind. But that's how I would approach a company that's not currently selling. I would try to negotiate some kind of profit split or revenue split and run their account for them. All right. So let's see. I'm going to say your name wrong, I'm sure, but Waqar Safdar says, hello Todd, where from can we learn to make deficiency report? I apologize, but I am not sure what you mean by deficiency report. So explain that in a little more detail in another comment if you would, and I'll try to circle back around to that. Let's see, another one from Daniel J. Do you have any VAs? If yes, what are their tasks? So yeah, right now we have 5 VAs I think we're at currently. One is the VA manager and an administrative virtual assistant. She's doing both of those jobs, taking care of things like managing, replying to Amazon emails from customers and things like that, but then also managing all the other VA's tasks and making sure they're staying on track. She runs the weekly meeting. She does what's called a scorecard for us, which is the numbers that we're tracking for each VA to make sure they're hitting their targets. And then we have one VA who opens new accounts for us. He'll actually even make phone calls to like distributors. I don't have him do brands, but distributors, he does phone calls for us. Distributors are a lot easier than brands typically. But then he's also doing the reverse sourcing to find new brands and accounts to open for us. And then the other 3 VAs, 3 other VAs are doing sourcing. So they're going through the lists, matching product up on Amazon, finding ones that are profitable. If they're profitable, we double check it with another VA double checks it, and then they add the product to Seller Central. It gets added to our inventory management software, and then our office manager before ordering will check it for a 3rd time to make sure it's actually going to be profitable for us. And then I have one other VA who is managing all of like our performance issues. So like performance alerts that we get, or pricing issues, or maybe Amazon is requesting additional information on a listing and things like that. She handles all of that stuff for us. Another one from Daniel. Are you taking your money from Amazon and trying to start something off Amazon like Shopify store or something? I've thought about it. One of my thoughts is to buy a drop shipping store that's doing something like large items that are hard to return. I've thought about that, but I have not done that. Only thing I have done so far is buy rental real estate. So right now I've got 2 single-family rental properties that we're renting out and making some income that way. So that's kind of all I'm doing at the moment as far as taking money outside of Amazon. And I do want to continue doing more of the rental real estate stuff. All right, Waji Hassan. Hi Todd, what has been your best category to sell in, and what has been the approach that has worked best for you? Reverse sourcing or purchasing from distributors, wholesalers? So best category, honestly, I mean, we have a lot of sporting goods stuff. Also got automotive, some kitchen, some toys and games, and things like that as well. Really, there's no best category. There's categories that are harder than others, like supplements and beauty tend to be harder. Video games, DVDs, and things like that are very hard. But for the most part, I just recommend people pick a category that they have an unfair advantage in. So maybe you had a past job at an automotive store, so you know automotive parts better than I do. So when you're talking with those brands and suppliers, you can speak the lingo, understand what they're talking about, so you have an unfair advantage. Maybe you love frisbee golf. So go into that area. There's going to be tons of suppliers of frisbee golf equipment and things like that. You can get on the phone, talk the lingo. You know, hey, have you gotten out on any cool frisbee golf courses lately? I found this one in Tampa that's just awesome. You need to check it out if you ever get down here. Now, when you're working with the suppliers and the salesperson at the distributors, you're no longer just someone buying product. You're a fellow frisbee golf player, right? So you have an unfair advantage. Maybe you love dogs and know everything about Yorkshire Terriers. Go in that area. You have an unfair advantage. Whatever the case may be, there's something that you have an unfair advantage in, either from a previous job or a hobby or just something you're passionate about and you know more information than me or someone else, just another random person on the street. Gives you a leg up because you can talk the lingo in that world and know something about it. So that's how I'd recommend picking your category. Reverse sourcing or purchasing from distributors, wholesalers, not really the same thing at all. You use reverse sourcing to find the distributors and wholesalers. Right? We're not using reverse sourcing to find products to sell. We're using reverse sourcing to find distributors and wholesalers to contact, open up accounts. Then we get their actual list of product, take those lists of products, match them on Amazon, and find products to sell. So the products you find during reverse sourcing are probably ones that you'll never actually sell. Maybe you end up selling, but probably not. We're really just using that as a starting point. A lot of people get kind of hung up there. They think we're using reverse sourcing to find products to sell, but we're not. We're using reverse sourcing to find products that we can then use to find distributors and wholesalers and see what other products they sell on top of that. Let's see. Adil, how to respond when a distributor says we don't take any more Amazon sellers? The lovely question that, or the answer that we all love to hate. When in fact, it should be one that you love to hear. There's nothing better than when you contact a brand or a distributor and they say, we don't want any more Amazon sellers. Because that means 95% of the people are just going to hang up the phone and be like, okay, let me go on to the next one. But if you're part of that 5% who can use their salesmanship skills to get around that and open that account, there's a barrier to entry there. So you're not going to be one of 500 sellers on that listing. you're going to be maybe the only one or one of a handful of sellers, and it's going to be a lot more profitable. There's not going to be tanking of the price. It's going to be more controlled and things like that. So what do I do? There's one key question or way to phrase a question, and you can really use this in anything in life. If they say, oh, we don't want any more Amazon sellers, and you just say, well, why don't you want any more Amazon sellers? That can come off as combative and immediately put the other person on the defense, and now they have to explain to you why they don't want you to sell their products. And instead, you need to add a little phrase on the front of any question that softens it and makes it non-confrontational. And that is, do you mind if I ask? That immediately softens whatever question comes after. Do you mind if I ask why you're not taking any more Amazon sellers? And 99.9% of the time, they're not going to say, yeah, sure, you can ask that. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense, right? They already know the question. So 99% of the time, their response is going to be the answer to the question you wanted answered. But you're not coming off combative in any way. And their answer to that question is going to be the problem that you have to solve for them. They might say, oh, we've just got so many sellers on our listings already that we don't need any more. And if you did, hopefully you did your research ahead of time, you've got some of their listings open on your computer while you're on the phone talking to them. And you can say, yeah, I'm looking at your Frisbee golf Frisbees here, and there's like 30 sellers on there. Do you know where all these sellers came from? You definitely don't want more. I mean, that's not helping you anyway. And they're going to reply probably, yeah, no, we don't know where they're coming from. We don't know who these people are. And that's when you can then keep going deeper and say something like, well, have you ever thought about trying to control your supply chain and limit the amount of Amazon sellers? There's different ways that you can actually figure out who those people are and get them off of your listing. Have you ever thought about doing that kind of thing? No, I didn't even know that's an option. How do we do something like that? Well, have you registered your brand on Amazon yet? No. How would we do that? Well, if you go to this brandregistry.amazon.com, we can get you registered. And then once you're registered, now you have a lot more control of your listings. People can't change it. We can file IP complaints on these people to make sure that they're selling legitimate product. So that's one way that you can control your listing and try to find out who some of these people are. And you can continue on down that line, or whatever their response is, you're going to have different responses to those questions. And over time, you're going to build up a list of those questions that are asked over and over, and your responses to them are going to get better. But the goal is to solve their problem and become the expert in their eyes. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh wow, this guy knows how to help me get rid of all these other sellers. And guess what's probably going to end up happening? If you're the one who ends up helping them with that, you're going to be one of the exclusive sellers or one of a handful of sellers that they leave at the end. So it's all about solving those issues for them and becoming their Amazon specialist in their mind. Because you have to remember, we're in the world of Amazon. We know everything about it. A majority of these brands and suppliers, especially the smaller ones that I usually recommend working with, they don't know anything about Amazon. So you start helping them, you become the expert, and you will hopefully get to be the person who sells their products on Amazon. All right, let's see, where are we? One from Joey here, Joey Zemet. Growing, but I just seem to not get out of the cash flow chokehold. All my money is going back into the business. Besides lending, what other things helped you have more cash to find more suppliers to grow? Yeah, welcome to Amazon Wholesale, Joey, or really just about any business that involves having inventory. You're always going to have that cash flow problem if you're growing. If you plateau and stop growing, you can alleviate that cash flow problem, but if you're growing quickly anyways, you're going to have that cash flow problem. Ways to alleviate it, of course, is the borrowing route. Amazon lending is one option, although the bad thing about Amazon lending and like PayPal loan builders and things like that is they're usually short term. They want you to pay it back within like a year, and so that doesn't do a lot of help with alleviating the cash flow pressure, although it can help in the beginning. Another option that I've done in the past is if you get an offer from a credit card for like no interest for 12 months or 24 months or 18 months, I've taken advantage of those. But aside from that, your only option is to not take any income out of the business. Keep rolling it all back in there, and make sure your ROI or your profit margin is high enough that you can sustain. For an e-commerce business to sustain, at least one that's not taking on like venture capital and things like that, you want an average ROI of 30%. That's just so that you can survive and continue selling. If you want to grow, you're going to need more like 40 or 50% or higher average. So you're just going to have to focus on those higher ROI products and shorten your days of stock that you're keeping. Shorten your window down to maybe 30 days instead of 60 days, so you can flip that money and turn that money faster and keep building. I mean, that's how I did in the beginning, just keep building, flipping that money. Then I took some Amazon loans, I took some those credit card offers. Now I'm to the point I've got several years of history in my business of making a profit, and so now I can get lines of credits from the bank. And what's awesome about those is they'll have low interest, 3, 4, 5% interest, but I don't have to pay anything every month except for the interest on those. So that really helps with cash flow a lot once you have a history in your business. All right, another one from K Option here. How do you deal with sellers who undercut you by a penny no matter what? The best way to deal with that is to just go a penny above them. Typically 1 or 2 pennies above them, even within like 1-2% of the buy box price, you're still going to get a rotation. So if you run into those penny cutters, which if you are a penny cutter, stop it. You're just ruining it for yourself. You're tanking your ROI. So don't do that. But if you're running into one of those people, go 1 or 2 pennies above them. Find the place where their repricer is not going under you, and just sit there. Set your repricer to stay 1 or 2 pennies above. Hopefully you're using some kind of repricer if you've got any volume of products. If you're not, then doing it manually, just stay a penny or 2 above. You're still going to get rotated into the buy box most likely, especially if you have more inventory. If you have more inventory that Amazon's spread around the country, you're going to get the buy box more than other sellers who don't have as much inventory in Amazon, because Amazon wants to get that product there fastest. And so if you have inventory in Texas and I only have inventory in Florida, but I'm 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents cheaper, and there's someone shopping in Texas or Las Vegas or Utah or somewhere around there, they're going to show your inventory, not mine, because it's going to cost Amazon less to get it to the customer, and they can get it to them faster. So that's something to keep in mind. Just don't stop matching them, and then hopefully they'll stop dropping the price all the time. All right. Question from Amit Kara. Hi Todd, thanks for valuable Q&A. I don't know how to increase my net profit margin. Although I make wholesale arbitrage, I could make so less profits. How can I improve it? All right, so it sounds like you say wholesale arbitrage, so I'm not sure if you're doing online arbitrage or if you're doing wholesale where you're buying products from brands or distributors. But in either case, you have to get a better price on the products you're buying, or increase the price on Amazon, which can be difficult if you're competing with other people. So in those cases, you're going to have to get the product cheaper through your wholesaler. So see previously in the video where we talked about requesting discounts from brands and distributors. That's what you're going to have to do. Really the only way. There's not really any other option. I mean, you can cut it a little bit by decreasing your shipping costs. When you're doing pallets and things, it's cheaper than doing UPS a lot of times. Shipping direct to Amazon, if you can get a brand or a distributor to do that, that can cut off a little bit of wholesale shipping, or decreasing your prep costs. Your labor costs for getting a product ready to send into Amazon if you're using a prep center, or if you have your own warehouse, or you're doing it from your basement, whatever the case may be. Decreasing those costs. And that just reminded me, for anybody who's new, if you're not adding in like $1 to every product that the brand or distributor is not shipping directly into Amazon, make sure you're adding like $1 or $1.50 for inbound shipping, outbound shipping, and labor. Even if you're not paying someone else to do the prepping and labor work, add it in now, so that you know that product will be profitable as you grow, because eventually you're not going to want to do it yourself. So make sure you're adding that $1.50 on top of every product for prepping and shipping costs. All right, JZ, I am considering selling on Amazon Canada from the US. How long does it take to get GST and business number? Can you recommend a service to handle the paperwork? So for me, it did not take very long, if I remember right. It's been a few years since I've done it, but it was pretty quick. I think they get it to you almost immediately, or in a matter of days, perhaps hours. It goes pretty quick. As far as the service, let me make sure I get the website correct. So my good friend Kevin Sanderson, he specializes in doing international. So he can help anyone move into Canada, UK, or wherever else. And the name of his website is where is it? Sorry, Kevin, I forgot your website. It's ecom something here. If this page would load. Not that. Well, I'm not finding it. I'll find it here in a moment, I'm sure. So let me give that moment to load. But if you search for Kevin Sanderson, you're going to find it. And nope, not there. Well, come on. Let me try a different search engine real quick. Here's the episode I did with him. So I actually did an episode with him. So if you want to look at that, episode 7, How to Sell Internationally on Amazon with Kevin Sanderson. You can get that on my website. And his website right here is maximizingecommerce.com. So maximizingecommerce.com. You can pay him to do that for you. And shoot, YouTube just crashed here. Let me make sure I am still online. Loading back up. Connecting software. All right, so it looks like I'm back. I don't know if that cut out. I apologize. My page crashed here, so I couldn't see if I was live. So if you didn't hear that, Kevin Sanderson, maximizingecommerce.com. Check him out. He has the services to set you up, Canada, UK, wherever. He is the international expert. He has a podcast as well, Maximizing E-commerce, that you can check out also. So let's go to the next question. Met again, how you overcome returns of unfulfillable product? Do you sell in any other platforms? Yeah, so we get them back here in the warehouse, and then our guys go over them. If they haven't been opened or anything, we'll just resell them as new. If they have been opened, we'll kind of assess them. If it's a food product, beauty product, something like that, we just throw them away. But if it's something that could be resold used, we assess it, make sure they're working good, and then either resell them used on Amazon or resell them used on eBay, one or the other. Trish, do you have your wholesale orders shipped to your home or directly to Amazon? If directly to Amazon, do they prep everything for you? So right now we have a warehouse. We've got a 5,000 square foot warehouse that we bring everything to for the ones that don't ship direct to Amazon. Even some of them that don't direct ship to Amazon but do have free shipping, we bring those to our warehouse because that way we control that better, make sure they're prepped properly for Amazon. Before we had a warehouse, they were coming to my home, and we had a fulfillment center set up in our basement essentially, and we would do all our prepping and everything in the basement, bring everything up to the garage, throw it in boxes, palletize it, whatever, and we even had pallet pickups from our home. If you get it from your home, you're going to have to call the trucking company and request that they have a lift gate, which they'll do through Amazon for free, but you do have to call and request a lift gate directly with whatever company Amazon assigns you to for picking up your freight. But otherwise, you can just send UPS, no problem, out of your home and just schedule a pickup with UPS, or take it to your local UPS store or whatever the case may be to send those off. Let's see, another one from Ahmet. I was watching your 2 to 3 years ago videos and was telling that you were like 70, 80K sales in a tier, and suddenly your sales increased so fast, so sharply. What has changed? How did this happen? Yeah, in the last couple years, we have doubled each year. So we went from, let's see, that would have been 2019. We were at like around 750,000. 2020, we were at about 1.5 million. 2021, we're at 3 million. This year, we are kind of stuck at 3 million at the moment. But I am still hoping to push that up to 4 or 5 million this year. Our goal is 6 million, but we'll see what happens as far as how far we get. But we've been doubling. I mean, COVID, honestly, for anybody selling online, has really boosted sales a lot. And of course, we're coming out of that. If you're in the U.S., especially in the state of Florida, nobody here really cares about COVID anymore. They haven't for a good year and a half. So we're coming out of that thing. So things are starting to go back to normal. And also with inflation going crazy, things are getting a little bit more difficult, a little harder to increase sales. So we'll see if we can hit that $6 million mark. But so far our sales have been kind of flat compared to last year. But before that, we had doubled 2 years in a row. So that's how we got to the point where we're at now, doing about $250,000 a month. Kiwaja Omar, how we can find suppliers in the U.S. Is there any tricky method? So the reverse sourcing video that I talked about earlier, search for that on YouTube or on entrepreneuradventure.com. Last time I looked, if you search for reverse sourcing, we're the number one video. So check that out. That is how you're going to be finding suppliers. Now keep in mind, I'm making an assumption since you're asking how to find suppliers in the U.S. and based on your name, you might not be in the U.S. So if you're not in the U.S., or even if you're in the U.S. and you have a strong accent or whatever the case may be, just know that it's going to be harder for you, right? We have become pretty much used to getting spam phone calls from people with accents. So when you answer the phone and you hear someone with an accent, you just automatically assume it's a spam call or something. So you're going to have to deal with that. You might get hung up on. You're going to have to overcome that in some way. You're going to have to try that much harder, right? Just part of life. Life's not fair. No matter what the news tells you, it's never going to be fair. No matter what the government does, I should say. So you're just going to have to deal with that. So keep that in mind. But the reverse sourcing is the way you're going to find those suppliers and open those accounts in the U.S. For anybody, whether you're outside the U.S. or inside the U.S. Let's say K option. I sell in Canada, but have never sent anything into a Canadian warehouse. Just use my normal U.S. FBA products to list in Canada. Most aren't available to sell. Am I doing it wrong? I sell in Canada, but have never sent anything into a Canadian warehouse. Just use my normal. Okay, so you're doing the remote fulfillment that we talked about earlier. Nothing wrong with that. If you have that option, turn it on. It's essentially free sales. Amazon handles all the importing. You don't have to register for anything in Canada. And you should get like a 3% boost on your sales by turning that on. And again, Seller Central, inventory, remote fulfillment. I don't think it's available to everybody. Last time I knew you had to have a certain sales level. I know it was at 1 million. I'm pretty sure it's come down from that now, but if you're a brand new seller, you probably won't have that option. But keep checking as you grow, and eventually that option will show up. But yeah, nothing wrong with that. Once you get to the point where you want to send product into Amazon, go ahead and do that, and you can use the reports from the remote fulfillment sales to see what you can be sure to send into Canada and know that it's going to sell. Because if it's sold through remote fulfillment, which they're going to pay the higher cost because they have to pay the importing fees and the shipping and everything from the U.S., if they're paying that, when you send it in FBA, they're going to buy it and probably buy it more frequently. Let's see. Another one from Kwaja. How can we get the buy box as a new seller? No magical bullet on that one. There's so many things that go into the buy box. Like we talked about earlier, how much inventory you have is one of them. Your seller feedback is another one. Price, of course, is a big one. You have to be competitive on price. You don't have to be the lowest, but you have to be very close to the buy box and go from there. So there's no secret sauce. You pretty much just have to send a product in and get going. Keep your feedback up. Get good feedback. Keep selling products. I mean, just the better you build your reputation within Amazon, it just makes sense, right? Amazon wants to be able to trust the sellers. And how do they know they can trust you? That's your sales history. How good is your performance? How good is your seller feedback and things like that, right? So you just have to build your account. And that's why I said earlier we're ordering that small amount, because you never know how many sales you're actually going to get, right? You want to order at least 10 because that's the minimum that Amazon requires on an invoice. If you get like an intellectual property complaint or a trademark complaint or something like that, you need at least 10 on that invoice to get those cleared. But order small amounts, see what happens, get your own real world numbers, and kind of go from there. Joe, which carrier do you use to ship LTL from the US to Canada? I understand it really depends on the distance, but just a ballpark figure, what's the average cost to ship LTL from US to Canada? So we're using a company called freightquote.com. They're a company that kind of gets bids from companies for you. So kind of like Expedia is for the airlines, FreightQuote is for the LTL companies. So we use them, and we've based on our volume, we've negotiated better rates. Again, going back to wholesale, everything's negotiable, right? So you always got to ask for discounts. But our most recent LTL shipments of a pallet going to Canada was about $350 from Florida to Ontario, Canada. So pretty good prices. If we didn't have our discount, it'd probably be more like maybe $500 or $600 for that pallet. So it definitely makes a difference. Typically, though, through them, we have been using YRC Freight. YRC Freight has been good prices and really good service. They're a little more expensive by, $20, $40, $50 or so than the cheapest option. But their service is really good. We haven't had issues with them like we've had with other LTL companies. We make the booking on FreightQuote, and a lot of times literally they're there to pick up the freight in like an hour, 2 hours. Guaranteed by the next day they'll pick it up. But sometimes they'll pick it up the same day if you're setting up that shipment earlier in the day. So really good service. A lot of times we're going with YRC Freight, but we're using FreightQuote to get those bookings and kind of pit the different LTL carriers against each other. And if you're not familiar, LTL stands for less than truckload. It's just a shipping term when you're doing pallets. Let's see. Waquar. Deficiency report means Amazon listing deficiencies, like what should be done to improve the listing, the tactic you use to convince the brands. So yeah, I mean, those are things that you can use when you're talking to the brand. They're all things that you can use for improving the listing. So I'm assuming, let's see, Amazon has this report in here that you can see. The listing quality dashboard, I think, is what you're talking about, where we can go in there and see all the different recommendations that Amazon is making to improve the listing. So those are definitely some things that you can do with the brand to help them. A lot of times the stuff in here, though, is just minor things like select what material this is made out of, select the different mounting types, enter compatibility options. They're more like behind the scenes stuff. So a lot of times these things, I'll have our virtual assistant go in here and just enter this information just by default, if she can find the information, because it'll just help overall the listings and we'll get better sales. Even for ones that we don't have exclusives with, we'll do that a lot of times. But when we're really going to things that take a lot of work, like doing the graphics and the copy and the A+ content and brand registry, those kind of things we don't do unless we have the exclusive. But yeah, you could definitely look and use this report and say, yeah, these are all the things that Amazon is saying are problems with your listings. What are your other sellers doing to help you with those issues? And see what they say, right? Because most likely they'll say, well, probably nothing, I don't know. And then you can become the expert of all these little issues that other people are not fixing, and you can help them fix and potentially get the exclusive that way. K option, you live in Tampa. I do now. We moved to Tampa last June. we moved down here from Utah. So we were in Utah a couple years. Now we're out in Tampa trying it out here and see what we think about Florida. Definitely miss the mountains in Utah, though. Want to get back out there for a vacation. The long-term goal is to get a summer home in Utah and then spend the winters in Florida. So let's see. Another question from Jay-Z. Besides GST, GST is the Canadian equivalent to like sales tax, and business number. Any other requirements, certificate, license we should be aware of when selling in Canada from the U.S.? No, off the top of my head, I believe that is it. Like I talked about that commercial invoice that you have to do. You're supposed to send that with the shipment, so that not Amazon, but Canada knows how to bill the tariffs for you, because every category of product has a different tariff, which is basically just a tax on your products when you import them into Amazon, or not. I keep saying Amazon, into Canada. Has nothing to do with Amazon. When you're importing into Canada, you got to pay a tariff on some products. Some are 0%, others are 9, 10, 15%, depending on the product and the originating country that they're coming from. But other than that, there should be nothing that you'll need to take care of that. Let's see. AMZ Ben. Hi, Todd. I'm from Turkey. Long time no see. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, Ben. Joe, can we send inventory to Amazon fulfillment centers in Canada before obtaining GST and business number? There's probably some black hat way to do it, but not really. No, you can't. You need that GST number and business number to import into Canada. So when it gets to the border, they're going to need that information to allow the products into Canada. And if you don't have that, they're probably not going to allow them to come across the border into Amazon, because there has to be an importer of record, which is going to be yourself essentially, but you need that GST and business number to represent yourself in Canada. So no, not really any way around sending inventory in without that number. All right. Joey, would you recommend tactical arbitrage for wholesale, or would you suggest manual sourcing with VAs for wholesale? Both, 100%. Tactical arbitrage, analyzer tools, price checker 2. Even Smart Scout has a similar program now. They all have the same ability pretty much to scan an Excel spreadsheet and match them to Amazon and give you the results. That's the automatic way. Once you do the auto way, then you want to do the manual way. So your VAs are taking those UPCs, going to add a product on Amazon, pasting it in there, and see what comes back. A lot of times there's going to be one, but several times there's going to be more than one, alternate listings of that same one. And the alternate listings a lot of times are higher priced, and you can make more profit, so you need to find them. Then they're going to be searching by model number in the added products and see what comes up. Then they're going to be searching by the brand plus a little bit of a description, see what comes up, see what they can match, see what bundles they can find, see what multi-packs they can find. That's where the real gold comes in, is finding those products manually. It's more difficult, it takes a lot of time. Sometimes on one big distributor it can take our VAs like a month to go through that distributor's list. But that's how we're finding those really high ROI profitable products. And again, most people are not going to do that. Most people are going to do the auto way and then be done with it, and then can complain why they can't find any profitable products and this Amazon wholesale thing just doesn't work. You got to go the step above and do the manual route as well. So you really need to be doing both. What inventory? Let's see. Whoop, I skipped one. Jay-Z, Canada BSR looks low. What's the max BSR you would consider? I've essentially stopped looking at BSR as one of my criteria. especially since a lot of products have been out of stock recently. So I more look at the reviews. And keep in mind, in international listings like Canada, Mexico, UK, Amazon will import the reviews from the US over to Canada. So when you click on Amazon listing, you'll be like, holy cow, this listing's got 300 reviews in Canada. It's going to sell like crazy. But if you actually click on the reviews, it'll say how many are from the US and how many are actually from Amazon. So there's a lot of times there'll be like 300, 400,000 reviews, and then you click on them and it says 0 from Canada. Now that doesn't mean that product's not going to sell at all, but you kind of got to weigh how much risk you want to take and analyze the listing a little bit deeper and see, check the keeper graph, see how it's been doing and things like that. Worst case scenario, you just send a really small amount in with other products, see if it sells. If it's got a ton of reviews in the US, odds are pretty good it's going to sell in Canada. The Canada market is not that much different. The people that live in Canada are going to consume relatively similar things as we consume here in the US. They're just like 10% of the population of the US. Same as in UK, there's going to be a lot of crossover. There's differences, of course, but there's going to be a lot of crossover as well. But you just kind of got to analyze those and see what you want to sell. And then again, start off small, get your own real world numbers and go from there. Muhammad Ali, good name. If that's your real name, that's awesome. Muhammad Ali, great boxer. Hi, what tools you use to find products doing reverse sourcing? So if you watch the reverse sourcing video, I go over all of it in there, all the tools that I use. But one that's really nice is DS Amazon Quick View Extended. That's kind of the filtering software that I use. When you see those boxes at the top of that video, I use that software to filter out Amazon sold listings, filter out listings that only have one seller on it so that we're not getting all the FBAs, filter by the number of reviews. I do 5 reviews or more, and kind of filter through it. So that's one tool that I use a lot, but all the other tools will be in that reverse sourcing video. JZ, what inventory management system and repricer are you using for the Amazon Canada? So I am using sellersnap.io for my repricer. Inventory management system, I am kind of moving right now. We're using Restock Pro at the moment, but like I mentioned earlier, we're building our own software to handle all of that. And then I'm going to use inventory-planner.com for forecasting in the US and Canada. K-Option, I'm a 7-figure seller in Tampa area as well. We should meet up sometime. 100%. Look up the Tampa Bay Seller Meetup, Tampa Bay Amazon Seller Meetup on meetup.com. Actually, just go to our website, Tampa Bay Sellers with an S.com, TampaBaySellers.com. If you live in the Tampa Bay area, jump on there. We meet every month. First Wednesday of every month, we have a meetup in Brandon, Florida, which is right next to Tampa, Florida. And then usually sometime in the middle of the month, I do an Amazon coffee as well, where several of us get together and just talk Amazon while having coffees. So definitely jump on that meetup and join us. I'm not going to be here for May. I'm going to be on vacation, but I'll be back in for the June meeting. But in the May meeting, even though I'm not there, check it out, because we're going to have Kirsten Ostrander from Mommy Income talking about building bundles and selling them on Amazon, which is an awesome way to combine Amazon wholesale and private label. So you'll definitely want to check that out if you're in the Tampa Bay area. First Wednesday of every month, 7 p.m. at O'Brien's Pub in Brandon, Florida. Let's see. Muhammad Ali again. Which is the best state for registration LLC in terms of taxes, etc.? I'm no accountant, so I don't know for sure, but from what I've heard before, Wyoming is really good. Delaware, I think, is really good as well. But you're going to want to do a little more research on your favorite search engine for that and see what comes up with, or talk to an accountant or something. Let's see. 911 says, where have you been? Building my business. 911 Roy man. Building business, really. That is what I've been focusing on. Got to 3 million in sales. And now I feel like I want to get back on here and start the podcast back up, do YouTube videos and stuff again. So you should be seeing a lot more of me. William Kellum, what company do I need to hire VAs through, more specifically to do calling for me? So let's see. If you are comfortable with hiring, I recommend onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph is essentially a job board based in the Philippines where you can post a job, get candidates, and interview those candidates and hire someone. One tip, if you're doing a job posting, add some kind of random question in the job posting and ask them to answer that question first thing in their reply to the job. Because there's so many that are just like, I don't know if they're automated or if they have VAs trying to find them VA jobs or something like that, but they're just like copying and pasting their resume and sending it to you. And so that's a way to kind of weed out VAs that are not actually reading the job posting. But that's one way. Otherwise, we used a service called freeup.com, which has a new name. I guess it's freeup.net now. They're like a job agency, essentially. They'll find you 3 pre-approved and vetted VAs that then you can interview and hire from them. Of course, it's going to cost a little bit more because you're going to be paying them a fee on top of the hourly rate that you're paying the VA. But that's another way that you can go about doing it as well. Let's see, K option. What repricing do you find to be the best these days? So sellersnap.io is what we're using. They're actually a sponsor of the Tampa Bay meetup as well. Great people. They do great work. They are expensive though. It's $500 a month, so it's not an option you're going to use in the beginning. In the beginning, I recommend using something like BQool, BQool, or GoAora.com is another really good one that are lower priced that you can use in the beginning. They're more of the like if this then that kind of repricing, although some of them are switching to what they call AI repricing. How good they are, I don't know. I haven't used them since they started claiming to do that. But for the most part, those cheaper repricers are going to be like, if this happens, then do this. If the buy box goes down, then match the buy box, that kind of thing. Where the AI repricers like SellerSnap, I just turn it on and it figures out what other people are doing and changes on the fly based on their response to get the highest profit for me. William, let's see. Have you updated your templates to send to distributors to have them eating out of your hands? No, the email templates I'm assuming you're talking about are still the same. Just super easy. You know, how do we open up an account? Essentially is all you're asking. Don't try to overcomplicate it. You want to start that conversation before going any further in depth. And preferably, even better, you're jumping on the phone. And by the way, if you want to get a copy of my templates, head on over to entrepreneurventure.com, and on the sidebar there is an option you can click on and download my email templates. You can also get my exclusive agreement template as well there. In fact, I just recently set up entrepreneuradventure.com/downloads, I believe it is. Let me make sure. Downloads. Yes, entrepreneuradventure.com/downloads, and that'll take you to the page to download the distributor contact spreadsheet that I use, my cash flow plan template that I use to do our budgeting every 2 weeks, the exclusive agreement, and then also our email templates that we're using. So definitely head on over there. You can download those. But all right, so we're going to cut off the questions here. Just a few more. Jay-Z's question here is going to be the last one that I just highlighted. So if you're posting now, I won't answer them live, but feel free to keep posting the questions, and I'll follow up with them afterwards, hopefully here. Let's see. Joe, what's your experience with Canada Customs? Does YRC handle your import tax paperwork at the border too? No, they do not. So for that, you need an importer of record. I'm forgetting what it's called right now. Let me see if I can find it real quick. The name of the company that we're using. Customs broker, it's called. Canadian customs broker. You're going to need the one that we're using is a company called ACB Customs, acbcustoms.com. They're essentially the company that will handle all of the importing. They'll pay the fees and everything up front, because you need to pay the fees up front. Otherwise, they're not going to let anything across the border, and then they'll bill you later. So you set up an account with them, and they can handle that all for you and then bill you for those fees later on. If you're sending UPS, by the way, UPS can be your customs broker for you. So keep that in mind. If you want to use UPS exclusively, they can be the importer or the customs broker for you. Have you used K-Option? Have you used Amazon Lending for financing? Do they offer you a new deal at some point during your original deal? If so, after how many months? Yes, we've used them, and yes, they do make you offers before the deal is over, so you can kind of keep refinancing it. We don't use them anymore. We're using a line of credit now because the interest is lower and we only have to pay interest every month, so that really helps with cash flow. But I'm just looking at their latest offer to me. They're offering me $785,000 right now. So it's definitely an option in the beginning, and Amazon does technically have the lowest interest options, although there are other options out there. Does look like I have an option through Marcus by Goldman Sachs now, 5.9 to 9.9%, 24-month term. So that's nice that they kicked that out farther. Also have an offer from Lendistry for 8 to 9.9%, 24-month term. So there's more options than just the Amazon lending in there now. So 24 months is a little bit better, but you still have to start making those payments that very next month. So that can hurt cash flow versus a line of credit. Again, only interest payments. If you want to, you don't have to pay anything in additional, so that really can help with cash flow. Joe, does Amazon CA collect and remit sales tax like the U.S.? If yes, then how do you claim the import tax you pay at the border to avoid double taxation? So how to claim that import tax is something better asked of an accountant, or talk with Kevin Sanderson over at Maximizing E-Commerce. Yes, so in Canada, they are doing the same kind of collecting for a majority of the places. I'm trying to buy time while I get over to my tax settings in Canada here. I thought I switched to Canada. Amazon Canada, settings, tax settings, and so it looks like there's just a couple of them, British Columbia and Quebec, that I still can enter my provincial registration, they call it. Majority of them, though, are remitting on your behalf, I believe. TaxJar is software that you can use to calculate the British Columbia and Quebec for you on your behalf, or you'll have to work with a tax accountant to handle that stuff. But as far as the import taxes and stuff, I don't handle any of that. My accountant and bookkeepers handle that. So I am not the expert on that, as I do not like dealing with the government really at all. But for the most part, they are remitting it for you now, and I'm sure the others will probably get there sooner rather than later. Last question from Jay-Z. Just want to confirm, how much do you pay per pound from Tampa to Canada again? Per pound, for me, if I jump over to freightquote.com, which is the company that we are using to send those shipments, and remember, we negotiated a discount. And the way I negotiated that discount is, number one, we had already established a good relationship, doing good volume through them. But then I got a quote of a shipment from my warehouse to Amazon, and I sent that to FreightQuote and compared their price to Amazon's price. And they could not beat Amazon, which I didn't expect, but they did give us a lot better price. Now, you're not going to want to go in and do that without ever having shipped with them before. But something to think about down the line once you've built that relationship to get that discounting. So let's see, Tampa to Ontario, show details. Let's view the quote summary. So this shipment weighed 435 pounds. And we paid 338, so not a giant shipment because we're not sending a ton up there yet, but $338.76 divided by 435 pounds is 77.9 cents per pound is what we're sending into Amazon right now. All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap that up there. About an hour and a half of answering questions. Hopefully that helped you guys out there. I'll definitely try to do more of these. And like I said, I'm going to be trying to kick off the podcast again, and also these Amazon videos and things like that. So stay tuned with that. If you haven't already, get on our email list, entrepreneuradventure.com. You can jump on there, or if you go to entrepreneuradventure.com/downloads, grab any of our downloads that we have there that we're giving away, the exclusive template, my cash flow plan, all of that. That will get you on our email list as well, and then you'll get alerted to when we come out with more videos. And of course, if you want more one-on-one coaching, I do one-on-one 1-hour coaching calls for $250 now. You can sign up for those, entrepreneuradventure.com. Just click on coaching, and you can get yourself a one-on-one session where we can talk with each other, share screens, and dive into whatever you want to dive into. People really seem to like those and get a lot of really good value out of those. So yeah, with that, we'll wrap this up. Appreciate you guys. Keep on keeping on with your entrepreneur adventure.